Hey everyone, Jen here to share a time to stamp video featuring Viva Las Vegas stamps. I'm starting out on a piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock that when I'm done with my project, I'm gonna glue it into my mini art journal. So it's a little bit bigger than 3.5 inches tall by 5.5 inches wide. So I'm starting out with the Grunge number 7 and doing a little random stamping with some StazOn black ink. And then I'm going to go in with the mesh texture stamp, which is a bunch of like little dots that I love for background stamping. And then I have the Waybill invoice stamp, and I'm just going to use the lines on that stamp. It looks like an old invoice, so it has like writing and stuff like that, but I just wanted to use the lines there. And then I'm going to go over my whole project with an anti-static powder tool because I'm going to do some embossing. And I'm using this Punchinella border stamp, and I'm going to stamp some sticky ink around, and I'm trying to concentrate my stamping around the edges, and then I'm going to cover that with some super fine detail white embossing powder by Ranger. And I wasn't quite, well, first I'm going to hit that with my heat tool to melt the embossing powder. And then I wanted to do a little bit more embossing. So I'm going in with the same sticky ink and row of numbers stamp and doing the same thing, kind of focusing that stamping on my edges. And then I have some Distress embossing powder in Weathered Wood, which is a really nice gray color. And when I did the first stamping and put the embossing powder down, I realized that I wanted more of the stamping. So I just added a little bit more stamping around there, covered that with my embossing powder, and then decided I wanted even more. And Distress embossing powder kind of has these properties where after you heat it, you're supposed to like wipe away. It has like these crystals that wipes away, and then it's kind of like a distressed look. I don't do that though. I just emboss it and leave it how it is. But I was really pleased with the way the gray color worked. And then I have some Dina Wakley Media acrylic paint in the color Elephant, which is a really nice gray color that has kind of like a pinky kind of hue to it. And then I'm going to go in with some Slate Handmade Modern acrylic paint, excuse me, which is a Target brand. And the reason I switched to the Slate is because I wasn't really feeling that pinky hue that the Elephant has. And the Slate paint is more of a true gray with no pinkish kind of undertone. So I'm just going to mix that with a ton of water because I just want a little bit subtle something in my background. And then I'm going to go in with some Distress Oxide ink in Wilted Violet and my round ink blending tool. And I'm just going to apply that color, concentrating it over my stamping in the corners. And then I'm going to try to like fade it into the center so that it like fades and meets in the middle of the card there. And then you can see where my white embossing powder is popping now because of the colored ink going over top of it, which is really what I was going for. And then I'm going to lightly put some ink all over the card. I'm going to edge the card with that same ink. And then I'm going to get some clear water and do some splatters. I'm just going to sprinkle that on my card, wait a few seconds, and then sop it up with a paper towel. And then I'm also going to take some of that ink straight from the pad, mix that with some water for some purple splatters. Now I'm going to stamp my main sentiment. It says, "I'm not afraid of storms, for I'm learning to sail my ship." Because I knew I was going to stamp the Banksy paper boat stamp, so that's why I chose that sentiment. And then now I have out my Banksy paper boat girl I'm not sure exactly what it's called, but in the corresponding blog post, which will be linked in the description box down below, I will have all the stamps I used with links to those stamps. So I'm using my Tim Holtz stamping platform because I want to make sure I get a super, super dark color, and I'm going to stamp it a couple times to get that rich black color. And I stamped with the Black Stays On ink. And then I'm going to stamp this on my page because the little details I'm not going to be able to cut out from my cardstock. So I don't know if there's an easier way to do it, but this is how I try to position a stamp that's not see-through. So I take a piece of acetate, lay it over top of my project, and then I'm going to stamp my stamp onto the acetate, making sure my acetate is stuck down with a magnet, and then I can move my project underneath the acetate to position it exactly where I want the stamping to go. And when I'm happy with where it's positioned, then I can just take away the acetate, and because I'm using the stamping platform and the stamp is still in the same spot, I'm going to stamp it and it's exactly where I want it. So I'm just going to take whatever ink is left on my ink blending tool and go over my sentiment, but it wasn't dark enough, so I had to bring in a little bit more of that color. And then I'm going to use that same ink to color my my paper boat there. And I'm going to bring in some Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers to color my little girl. I have number 72 and 71. And then I'm going to use some purple markers to bring in some darker shadows and also to color her dress purple. And I'm also using that 72 marker to color in the bird cage on the end of her fishing rod there. So I have a purple marker in number 82, and I'm just going to draw in, oh, and also 83, which is a lighter purple. And I'm just going to add in some darker shadows into my paper boat there. And then I'm going to use, instead of using water to blend out that marker, I'm going to use the Distress Oxide ink to blend out the shadows. And then once that's dried, I'm going to cut out the big elements of my stamp. I'm going to cut out the bird cage, and then I'm also going to edge my paper with a black marker so you can't see the white of the paper when I glue down my elements there. So I cut out the bird cage, and then I'm going to cut out the girl in the boat, and I'm only going to cut out the birds that are big and easy to cut out. I'm going to skip cutting out those little birds, as you can see here, because I stamped them on my project and I don't need to cut them out, and it looks like it's one continuous stamping. And then I'm going to adhere that with some clear tacky glue, and to keep the glue from like oozing out over the edges, I like to apply my glue to my stamped image and then like use my finger to smooth it out so it's you get it all over, and then you don't get that little weird oozing. So I'm going to stick my sentiment there, and that's it for my monochromatic card today. Be sure to check out the blog post so you can see all the stamps I used and the links to them. And thank you so much for watching. Here's some another video you can watch, or also subscribe to the Viva Las Vegas Stamps YouTube channel, which would be fantastic. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye bye, guys.